Hi everyone and welcome to Creating Change. Today I have the absolute delight and pleasure of having Claire Besley here with us. And Claire is the founder of a healing modality called self-directed healing, and she's also the CEO of Inspirited Solutions. So it's my absolute delight to have you here today, Claire.
Thank you. I'm very, very excited to be here too. I love what we're doing. I think it's great.
Awesome. And so just to give you a bit of a background about Claire and a little bit about what she's done. So Claire currently has over 100 self-directed healing practitioners all over Australia that are really working hard, and she's working to establish this modality in primary schools and, you know, wanting to move it into businesses as well, so that business people and children and basically everyone just better equipped to deal with the emotional pressures that everyday life presents to us. So Inspirited has served as a platform for thousands of clients to overcome both personal and professional barriers and blocks to achieve lasting self-confidence, self-awareness and self-worth. And we'll be diving in a little bit more today about what self-directed healing is. So it's going to be a great session for you guys listening out there. So Claire's basically identified this really unique process. It achieves changes very, very quickly. And it works by working with our neural pathways. So our neural pathways hold our limiting beliefs, and these have been programmed through early life experiences of trauma. So, you know, it's about rewiring our neural pathways by processing these limiting beliefs through the physical body, and it enables us to rapidly form positive self-belief, like deep in our subconscious minds. And Inspirited is revolutionizing the way we realize our potential, and it dramatically increases the speed that this occurs through the self-directed healing practice. So for those of you listening that love data, and I'm one of these people, you'll love this. Inspirited's clients have experienced over 75% improvement in their sense of direction, their finances, and their sense of purpose. Now I'm going to say that again, right? Because this is big stuff. Inspirited clients have experienced over 75% improvement in their sense of direction, their finances, and their sense of purpose. And in addition to that, there's an average improvement in authenticity of 154%. So this is like magical stuff. And I'm just loving the work that you're doing, Claire. And can I just take a moment to talk about how we met? Would that be okay?
That'd be great.
So Claire and I met at the Seven Sisters Festival back in March, and I'll never forget it. It was the 13th of March, it was the Friday, right? And I was managing one of the workshop spaces there, and Claire came in to facilitate a session. And I, as the, workshop manager, I mic'd her up and did everything I needed to do. And I was watching these group of people that you took through this healing process. The session was called How to Heal Yourself, if I remember correctly. And it was profound. I'd never seen anything like it, to have a group of people simultaneously going through such a deep and personal healing journey. Was just profound. I wanted to be a part of it, but I couldn't because I had to manage the space. And then for those of you that know my story will know that my son passed away recently. Well, that was the day after I met Claire. So it was 6:30 a.m. the following morning. I'm in my tent, Seven Sisters Festival, phone goes, bang. My son had died in a car accident, and it was life-changing. It was absolutely debilitatingly devastating. So it was a couple of weeks later, I reached out to Claire, and I remember being really concerned. It's like, how soon is it too soon when you're dealing with this magnitude of grief to do a self-directed healing session? Because I knew I had so many physical symptoms. I mean, I never knew grief was such a physical experience. And I loved your confidence. It was like, well, it's never too soon. Let's just go in and deal with what's there and move through it. And I don't know if you remember, but going into the session, my chest was so constricted, and I really needed, I wanted to just shift it because it was in my throat. Like, I was in physical pain and physical symptoms, and it wasn't even an hour and a half. And I'm like, seriously, it was gone. I absolutely shifted and went, and I just absolutely blown away. So have since become a practitioner and have done a bit of work with Claire. So it's just wonderful to have you here today, because this is such a powerful practice that I just want to share with as many people as we can get to watch this. So welcome. I'm just absolutely delighted to have you here today. And and just share you with the world, because the work you're doing is phenomenal and it is going to change so many lives. It already has. So I'm going to hand over to you now and just ask if you can just, maybe share a little bit about how Inspirited came to be, or, what drove you to be in this space.
Yeah, thank you. And first of all, before I answer that, I just want to say, like, it was an absolute honor that you came to me in that time of deep need and grief. And thank you for trusting me, because I take those sort of things very, very seriously. And I think that you're a very courageous woman. And I'm so proud to have you on my team. I haven't really seen many people just move that quickly and be able to take something so painful and turn it around and to help others. It's been an absolutely just a beautiful experience to watch your journey. So I just wanted to honor that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, that's my pleasure. And yeah, so in terms of my journey and how I got here, I think I was really a lot like everybody else. I mean, I was sort of blessed that I grew up with a father that had written a lot of books that I suppose talked about, how to connect with yourself more deeply and that sort of thing. But I was really just a young girl who had a lot of mother issues, had a lot of trauma in my life as well. So, I my first boyfriend, who I was madly in love with, at the age of 17, I'd been with him for 2 years and he ended up taking his life. And so for a 17-year-old to have to travel through that kind of trauma is extremely impactful. And I did not have the tools to deal with it. I don't, at that time, many years ago, you weren't even taken to a counselor or a psychologist or anything at all. And I was just really left on my own to deal with it. And I really didn't know how. And I think that actually didn't deal with it till years later. But what did happen in that process was maybe similar to you in a way, without the healing, was I didn't know how to cope with it. I didn't have anyone helping me. So I kind of shut down. But then over time, I was like, I never want anyone else to go through this alone again. So by the age of 21, I became a lifeline counsellor. And I started helping people on the phone, help them through, not taking their own lives, helping them through loneliness and that sort of thing. So I guess because of what I went through at such a young age and not having the tools to deal with it, it created a sense of purpose in me of, not only letting others go through this alone, but then a deeper sense of how do I resolve this in myself. And as someone who was deeply empathic and highly emotional, at the same time, I was reasonably switched on and logical. I really found there was a deep imbalance, because how can I kind of be quite intelligent, but at the same time just fall apart? Someone would break up with me and I'd just be a mess, because I don't think I really understood that trauma that I'd been through was just getting re-triggered, that abandonment from my partner that died, from my mother, and I having issues when we were young. I didn't understand that it was just the trauma was coming up again and again and again and manifesting in my life in different ways. And so it was just this burning desire really to just probably feel normal, that it took me on this bit of a crusade, I guess, for the next sort of, 20 years to try and go, there's got to be a better way to deal with this, and for me, I'm a really good talker, but talking about it didn't actually seem to change it, and so much later on in life, sort of in my 30s, I stumbled across some different healing modalities because of, again, my trauma coming up, and maybe because of my upbringing and having some sort of, I suppose, more wisdom around this kind of thing, I was able to delve deeply into all the different methods and modalities that people did and kind of go, oh, maybe we could tweak that and it might last longer, or maybe we could just cut that out and try this. And what it led me to was a really profound realization, which was that, people believe that everything's kind of in the head. You just change your thinking and everything will be okay. For me, that it just didn't quite cut the mustard, No, and
I'm totally hearing you on that as well, because, I'm a mindset coach, a life coach. I've got a couple of life coaching certificates behind me now. Nothing prepared me for the grief. Nothing prepared me for the physical pain. It's just, there was just nothing out there. And so, when I saw your practice, it was just like it was logical.
Yeah.
Hold that really deep space, that deep healing. Yeah. Sorry.
I think part of the reason that we focus on the mind so much is I actually think we're deeply scared of our emotions. You know, we're not brought up or educated on what to do with them. It's like, don't be angry, don't be weak, really society doesn't create space for people to feel.
No, and I think society's failed us in so many ways when it comes to processing our emotions. And I think that today we're becoming more and more aware of that. And these are exactly the type of conversations we need to be having. And the more we can get this out there and share the awareness, the better. But I agree.
I think, let's just talk about death. I mean, death is a topic that everyone knows it exists. Everyone knows they're going to die one day. Everyone knows the people around them are going to die one day. But it's kind of like, I've even noticed on Facebook, when someone passes away, no one says what happened. It's all hush, hush. Let's not deal with it. Let's not confront it. And a lot of people that lose someone, or, people will kind of hide from them because they don't know how to handle it or what to do with someone who's going through that experience,
That's right. I got a message yesterday from a girlfriend saying, sorry, I haven't messaged before. I just didn't know what to say. It's 7 months.
Yeah.
And I love that she's reached out, but this is part of my journey and my work, and I'm very passionate about this, so I don't want to take away from the self-directed healing. But just very quickly, I believe that society has failed us when it comes to grief as well, and there's a lot of education that needs to happen around A, how to process grief if we experience it, but B, how to support other people in their grief. Because it's this head in the sand. I mean, nothing's surer than death. Death will happen, and grief will affect everybody at some point. So there's so much work to be done in this space, and the self-directed healing is such a powerful, powerful tool for helping us do that.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess that's really how it came about, was my understanding within myself that I wasn't able to process. I wasn't able to function properly because of all the pain I was carrying, and just knowing that there's got to be a better way. So it was really a lifetime of research until I had that magical moment where I realized that, if you're going to really shift or release something, it must be done mentally, emotionally, and physically. And if you can do that all at the same time, then it's going to be gone completely.
Absolutely.
And I think there are some beautiful modalities that work on different aspects, but I couldn't find even one that did all of them all at once. So for me, a lot of people say, oh, I've spent hundreds of $1,000s on therapy. How is this going to be any different? And my answer to them is, well, that traumatic thing or that issue that you've been working on for so long, when you think about it, do you still feel upset? Do you still feel emotion? Do you still feel pain in your body? And if the answer is yes, then it's not gone. It's just not gone. Unless you can really reflect on that event and feel peace through your body at the time, you've still got work to do. And I know that might be disappointing for a lot of people, but that's just the way it is. So, what we have discovered by using this technique is that over and over again, our clients come back and they have no attachment to that past trauma, and it's not been blocked out mentally. They have no physical or emotional reaction. They have peace and they have understanding in relation to it. So for me, that's the measure, and that's the measure that I've used to go, does this process work? What needs to be changed? And so I guess, that's just something that people can ask themselves. If you're still feeling emotional pain around something, then there's still more to do.
Yeah. And I love that. I think that was one of the other things that really appealed to me with this practice, is that you measure. So we actually measure clients when they come in so that we can measure them when they come out. And I mean, that's clearly your corporate background, speaking, because, I've come from corporate as well, and data analytics and data integrity and data it's how we measure. And when it comes to something so intangible like emotions and our physical feelings and health and that sort of thing, it's like, how do you measure that? Well, you've done it. You've found a way. And so, I love that we can tangibly, measure a client coming in and leaving, and they can see the transition, they can see the difference, they can see the healing. So it's really powerful in that way. So yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. So when it comes to the actual practice, I think it's probably worthwhile just spending a minute or two just talking about what the actual practice is. Would that be okay?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, just as you said, the first thing we do is measure. And what's perhaps a bit unique about that, it's different. If, for example, you go to a kinesiologist and they might muscle test you and test and get a number from your body of what something is. This is completely different. You know, we're interested in your perception of yourself. We're not here to dictate to you or to tell you you're feeling this or you're feeling that. All we're trying to do is elucidate from you what your measurement is and how you feel. You know, how deep is your grief? How strong is your grief out of 10? It's whatever you see it to be, because we're not here to impinge on you in any way. And so when we remeasure at the end, you know, it's coming from you. So all of our data is actually client based. It's not us making our own assessment. So I think that's really important for people to know. And I suppose in terms of the rest of the process, what we tend to do is ask you a lot of questions to really help you get to the core of what's really going on. And we ask you things about how much shame you feel, how much grief, you know, how valuable you feel. You know, these kind of questions that maybe no one's ever asked you before. How much compassion do you have for yourself? You know, I think we delve into a territory that I think most people just don't go to. And I think the things we ask are actually really important. And a lot of the time, clients are like, oh, I've never thought about that before. And it's like, exactly. And you're here to think about it now. Because what we want to do is not only help you to release everything, but we want you to have a deep understanding of yourself so that you can start to use these tools to help move yourself through things so that you're not reliant on or dependent on a practitioner. So the next step of the process, once we've really kind of worked out, you know, what's the deep pain that you're holding, we also kind of work out through conversation what are the deep beliefs that you're holding. So for example, if someone has passed away, as an example, even though it had maybe nothing to do with us, but maybe we just didn't ring them the day before they passed, we often can carry a belief that it's our fault. And it might be completely irrational, but we may deep down have a lot of guilt. You know, we might be a parent and have our child might have an illness, and we might have somehow think that we've created it or we've been a bad parent, you know.
I did that session last Saturday. I had a mother who lost her son, and there was a lot of guilt. And so we went into that in the session and shifted it. It was really profound, really powerful.
It's incredible. And I think what people need to understand, especially if you are thinking about doing something like this, is, you know, we have a philosophy which is also perhaps very unique to anybody else or any other therapist, but our belief is that you have to feel to heal, and the only way out is through. So our sessions are very intense and they're almost confrontational in a positive way, because we understand that if you're not able to release that emotion out of your body, it's going to stay there. Your beliefs that aren't helping you are going to stay there, and your life isn't going to go on the trajectory that you wish it would. So what we know and what we understand is that we need to get it out. That emotion that you're holding needs to come out. And the only real way that you can do it and let it go is by feeling it. So as an analogy, you know, when you eat food, you have to metabolize the food. You can't just stay inside you forever. It needs to be processed through, and the physical body has a perfectly natural way of doing that. But when it comes to emotion, because we live in a world that's kind of trying to keep you in your head, and it's not great to feel because you can't be angry, you can't be sad, you can't upset people. Other people are uncomfortable when you're upset. We don't metabolize our emotions. We avoid them. We might go and, I don't know, have a cigarette or eat something or gamble or get on a game or get online, get on Facebook.
Try to be happy, try to be positive.
Yeah, just push it all down. And so, you know, what we say to our clients before they come is, listen, like, it's going to be intense. You're going to feel a lot, but our attitude is, let's just get it done. You know, so we actually take you into the pain, into the emotion. But it might sound scary, but actually when you've got someone holding a deep space for you, who's feeling it with you, it's actually quite fast, quite incredibly fast, because you actually can't hold an emotion at its highest level for more than 30 or 40 seconds. So what we actually do is we get you to go right into it and feel every little bit of it that you possibly can. We get you to have the courage to feel all the emotion. And what do you think happens to emotion when you felt it to its maximum? It just starts to leave, and you'll actually physically feel it moving out of your fingers, moving out of your head. It'll just feel like energy moving. It's just this release and this relief. And honestly, it's an absolute honor to sit with someone and go through that process with them. So that's what we do. And in terms of, not only do we release the emotion, but we release the belief. So if your belief is that it's all your fault, we'll get you to say that, and we'll get it to come right up, and we're going to get you to go all the way through it until you say it again and you can't feel it. It doesn't feel true and it doesn't exist in your body. And every single fiber of your being knows that it's not your fault. And
Yeah,
there's
and that
no
energy,
done.
there's no charge or energy with
No
it.
charge, there's no trigger. And it probably sounds fanciful until you actually do it, but it literally works very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So we do a whole lot of work around releasing the emotions and the beliefs out of the body, out of the mind, out of the heart. And then, we get you to a beautiful place of peace and calm. And then we get you to reflect and we re-ask you the questions that we asked you at the beginning, and we measure what's changed and what hasn't, so that we have clarity if we've done our jobs properly, and you leave knowing exactly what you shifted.
Yeah, I
So it's
love that.
actually powerful for both parties.
Yeah, love it, love it. And so, clearly you've been on quite the journey, and you've been doing this for a long time. For people listening that were considering something like this, like what would you say to them?
I would say to them, you don't have to do it. Yeah, you don't have to do it. But, if you know that you're holding emotion, if you know you've got patterns and beliefs and things and relationships that aren't shifting, my question to you is, do you love yourself enough to give yourself the opportunity to let it all go so that you can have the life that you want? And my hope would be that your answer would be yes. And I'm all for other modalities. Go out and try whatever you want, but what a lot of my practitioners say to people, but if everything else fails, this is where you come, and you can come here first or you can come here last. That choice is yours. But if you can't find it any other way, then please, see Christy or see one of the practitioners, because we really do know how to get you there. And there's enough testimonials online that you can go and look and find that out for yourself. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm glad you reminded me of that, because the website for anybody watching is Inspirited, inspirited.com. So you can go on there. Yeah, Claire's got a heap of videos, and there's testimonials, and there's a lot of information on there about the practice and about how it works. And it's a fabulous website to look up if you're wanting a bit more information. You can also reach out and contact me directly if you need to ask any questions or have any information that you want as well. So Claire, I guess just to wrap up, what are some key strategies that you'd suggest to people out there that are wanting to change and just not quite sure how to do that?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are in that situation, and I've been in that situation, but I can really relate. Especially there's a lot of people at home with anxiety, especially at the moment, and I guess what I'd say, my advice would be, if you find that you're feeling a lot of emotions, that you're going around in your head a lot, the first thing you need to do is you need to ask yourself, how do I feel? Like, what am I really feeling? And just take a moment to actually tune into your own body, and if you're feeling sadness, then all you need to do is ask yourself, where am I feeling this sadness in my body? So you can just try saying, I'm sad, out loud, but not with your head. You gotta say it from your heart, like you really mean it. I'm sad. And as you're being honest with yourself and you're expressing that verbally, the next thing you need to do is just go, where is this sitting? And I guarantee you will find it in your body. And once you've located where it is, it might be in your chest, it might be in your hands, it might be in your head. Just at a minimum, just take a few minutes to just take some deep breaths and just feel it. All I want people to start doing is just starting to feel, connecting with your body and starting to feel. Take some deep breaths. You don't have to do what we do and turn it right up or work out where it came from, but you're just starting to reconnect and get that body consciousness going, feeling those emotions, and just please allow them, because they're the most natural things in the world. You can't have deep joy without having experienced deep grief. Anger's healthy, sadness is healthy, shame. These are all emotions that make us a unique species that has a beautiful gamut of these emotions that make us creative and innovative. So we need to learn as a society to embrace every emotion and just learn how to move them through rather than push them away.
Yeah, that's so true, and I do this now as a regular practice, because, and this is what I say to everybody that I speak to, is our body talks to us. So just listen,
Yeah.
Like, start listening,
So much
because
to me now.
things are happening. They're happening for a reason. We need to pay attention because our body is talking to us, like literally. Yeah, yeah. So I guess just to wrap up, is there anything that you're working on at the moment that you'd like to talk about, or anything that you think would add value to the conversation today?
Yeah, well, I guess, at the moment, obviously I'm training practitioners every couple of months.
Yeah, of
And
course.
what's really exciting about that is we're now doing it online. So my next course, I think I have people in Perth, in New South Wales. So just one thing is, if it's something that you're thinking of for a career, then please get in touch with Christy or myself, because, we really need more people. To do this kind of work. It's far reaching, and there's a lot of people that need it. The second thing I want to say is, even if it's not for yourself, even if you're not in a space of deep grief, but you have other people around you that are, you can always just, instead of being scared of them being emotional, just try and allow the people in your life to feel their feelings. So instead of telling your children, don't be angry or stop crying, just maybe take a moment to just feel into how that makes you feel and be okay with that, and let them feel it. It doesn't mean let them express and yell and scream. It just means, let's all start helping each other to feel. And let's create a world where feeling is normal, it's okay, and it's beautiful, because I think then we're all going to actually start to feel a lot more love towards each other. And I think that's a world that I'd really love to live in, and I'm sure everybody else would too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked a lot about grief today, but there's just, even like, I get a lot of clients with anxiety, and, anxiety is just lots of emotions and they're trying to process them. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of unpacking that, like what's behind it. And, and emotions lead to a lot of addictions, and there's just so much scope and so much work when we're talking about emotions that, yeah, the work's absolutely profound. And I'm just so grateful that you're here on this earth, and that you've put this together, because yeah, it's just fascinating to watch people transform literally in such a short time, and how fast it is. And I think the beauty of this particular process, and another thing, not the beauty, but another thing that I love about it, is we teach our clients how to heal themselves.
Right.
So, and that's what I love about your philosophy, and it really aligns with where I'm at. Is I don't want people to be relying on therapists for the rest of their life. It's like, learn the tools yourself, because, once you've done it a few times, and I spend time and explain what I'm doing, and that's the power and the beauty of this
It
process.
is. And just on, I've got an example of that. There was a young man that I worked with for quite a long time, who had a lot of his own trauma. And I hadn't worked with him probably for about 7 or 8 months. And he actually called me one day on the phone, and he said, "Oh, Claire, I'm just ringing you up to thank you." And I said, "Oh, okay. What for?" And he said, "Well, actually, my mum tried to commit suicide 2 weeks ago." And I'm at this point a bit confused as to why I'm being thanked. And he said, "Yeah, and she had an overdose, and she's in hospital, she's recovering." He said, "But I want to thank you, because without your help and the tools I learned from you, I wouldn't have got through that. But I was actually able to support my mum and my entire family through that trauma, because of the skills and tools that I'd learned through self-directed healing." And I think I did have some tears.
Oh, you've just given me
Very,
goosebumps, like
very, very,
literally.
very big compliment to have someone
Wow.
thank me 2 weeks after that's happened to their mother. But it was really like incredible to hear that, to know that he was someone who couldn't cope at all, and was actually able to really hold space through something so deep for so many people.
So powerful. So thank you so much for being here today, and sharing this, and just everything that you just keep doing what you're doing, Claire. I absolutely love it. And I'm just so proud and happy that I'm on this journey with you as well. So
I'm
yeah,
very
let's
glad you are
keep
too. Thank you for
going.
having me. It's a pleasure.
You're
It's a joy.
welcome. You're most welcome. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.